You know what I'm gonna go do with this knife? Put it back in the box. What's going on, everyone? It's the Niskel. Welcome back to Resident Evil Code Veronica X. In the last episode, we finally found Claire. Now, we have the option to free her, but I want to get a lot more done, because we have an entire wing of this facility left to check. So I want to do that first, because as soon as we free Claire, we're going to get a bunch of story. As to be expected when Chris finally finds his sister, hopefully alive. Well, I guess he did mention, she's in this cocoon, I can't free her. So maybe he saw her breathing or something like that. But we're not going to deal with her now, and you can actually leave her chilling there. Nothing's going to happen to her. Something might happen to her when you let her go. But we do have that new wing. I want to check all that out, because there's plenty of goodies to get. And there's actually a lot of progression to be had here, because one item we'll get in this area leads to another thing that we need. And it all has to do with that painting, actually, in the room where we found Claire. It's that painting where you have to put in 3 items. One of the man's finger, the man's necklace, and the woman's bosom, or something like that. You put the 3 items there, and then you can finally advance to the final part of the game. And this just seems very out of place. As does the room that we saw initially. We're in like a frozen facility, and then all of a sudden a place like this shows up. I don't know what to think of it. It's just like, out of nowhere, boom, a mansion, house, a place where somebody would live, combined to a frozen Antarctic facility. I mean, maybe it's just a one big ruse. It's not even supposed to be real. It's just a replica, and that would make a lot more sense, but it just feels so weird. And by the way, this puzzle solution took me ages to figure out. And it's not even that hard to figure out. I don't know, maybe, I was adding 1 + 1 and getting 3. See? Instead of just, pushing the statue over to pick up what's inside, or standing on his tiptoes because Chris wasn't that much shorter than the statue, you actually have to push the statue onto the cracks in the floor to get the map. That is just... It makes sense, I guess. I mean, it's too tall and you can't get on your tiptoes. You're Chris Redfield, you don't need tiptoes. But anyway, this is really cool. This has been done before. It's just like the tiger statue in Resident Evil Remake or the original Resident Evil, where you take a jewel and the statue moves. Or in the case of Resident Evil 1, you put in a jewel and the statue moves. But here, you have a couple goodies that you can get. One of them you have to get, which is actually the attachment for an octagonal piece of metal. And you can also get magnum bullets, which, at this point, you want. Any and all magnum bullets you can get, save them for bosses. You won't regret it. Now, combine that with the octagonal handle, and now you have a square handle again. Just think, all of that time, we had to get the handle, we had to turn it from a square to an octagon, and then from an octagon back to a square. But the first time we did it, we used a diamond cutter, okay? That easily cuts metal. But the second time, no, there just happens to be an attachment. Just happens to be an attachment. Uh-huh. Fantastic. If that ain't the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It's a giant insect hive. Oh, bugs. I don't know what all of your stances are on bugs, but I personally do not like bugs. Which makes this game very interesting, that it's all surrounding bugs, and same with Resident Evil 0, that has to do with bugs. I don't mind killing them in video games. If they get on me in real life, just... Ew, stop. That's a nice little hint to use the lighter if you have it. It was actually funny going through this game, my first time in years, and realizing that I did not have the lighter. So basically, the latter half of the game with Chris was just darkness. There was no finding my way. And then we are able to get everything now that we can see, even though you didn't actually have to see everything. It's just a convenience thing. Like, the lighter literally has no purpose besides getting the submachine guns for Chris and just lighting your regular path. That's it. And I guess you could give it to Rodrigo to get the lockpick, but other than that, it's just a convenience thing. The different sub-items that you get in, let's say, for example, Resident Evil 1, the lockpick was used just for, like, convenience sake to actually open some doors that you needed unlocked, where Chris had to use the small keys just to make the game a little bit harder. But the sub-weapon of the lockpick is just for convenience, but it did open up some doors that you needed to get through. And I'm thinking specifically of the remake, because, oh no, the original one had small keys, so yeah, no matter what, you're playing hard mode as Chris. Which was a lot of BS. I barely play Chris's campaign. I kind of feel bad. I barely play as Chris Redfield in any game that he's in, except when I'm forced to. Which is why Resident Evil 5 was such a revelation that he was the main character. Anyway, that's all we need in that room. That's mainly a supply room. It does have an interesting log in there telling you about more of the backstory on what we're going to be dealing with here soon, especially having to do with all these bugs. And this is just gross. And, by the way, if you're wondering if they do any damage, they barely do anything. They're more of a hindrance. And they're just, like little nipping at you, and Chris feels it somehow. He just goes, stop! No! That blood on the wall, I'm so glad they added a little something for Chris to react to. Because if he's walking by there and he sees something like handprints, like, wiping across the wall, of course he's gonna say something. And right here, this is another good example of thinking, oh my god, what is Chris thinking in his head right now? He's got his heartbeat. It's not that they had to load things, even though they do have to load a lot of things in this room, but it actually makes sense for a character to act like this. Where you see some blood on the wall, you're going, oh, crap. What happened? And then you would be hesitant to go in a room that blood is leading to. So, good job. That's a really good moment. I like it. Oh, this looks like a little message from Alexia. Yeah! It's from the T-Veronica virus. It's not the T-virus. It's T-Veronica virus. Two completely different things. One has to do with the undead, and the other one has to do with bugs. So kill the one about bugs. Actually, we've seen this place before. Yeah, I saw it in a cutscene at one point. We finally made it. Alright, puzzle time! You see those symbols? You remember where we've seen them before? That paperweight that we got in the first save room in the Arctic base. Now's the time to deal with a puzzle. Now, you might be thinking, you're taking a look at these symbols, you write them down, and then it says, oh, do you want to push the button? Sure. You'd think you'd put in the code that's etched on the console there. That is your clue. What the game is telling you, and actually something that Alfred said on that etching, we're two sides of the same coin. So he's telling you, whatever that sequence was that was etched on the console, you need to look at the paperweight, look at the symbol that was etched, and turn it completely around. And that's your other part of the puzzle. So you have the first sequence, which that is just for reference, just so you can figure out the rest of the puzzle. And then you find each of those symbols, turn it around completely. So that sequence becomes, what is it? It's AA for Alfred and Alexia, the crown, the heart, and the spade. Now it's asking you for something. Go ahead and get rid of that paperweight. We don't need this anymore. Okay, that got a reaction out of Chris. I appreciate the fact that they animated something on his face besides just, like, stunned silence, just going, oh, well, that's a thing that happened. No. Actually seeing a pod come up from the floor and a dead guy flop out of it, that would be kind of scary. Just thinking about that in a real life sense, just like, oh god. So that's where the blood came from, maybe. And I love how Chris's first inclination after seeing this horrific sight of a guy just falling out of this tube that he caused to come out of the floor. So he's like, oh, maybe I did this. But no, his first inclination is to take a look at the dead guy's jewelry, who looks like he just freshly died. And he takes a look at that jewelry and he goes, you know what, that's a good looking ring. I'm gonna take that, because that's really cool. Good job, Chris, you jerk. First thing you do is you steal the dead man's jewelry. What are you thinking? Now that we're done with this part, there is, yes, okay. Sorry, I just had to rearrange everything in my mind. We managed to get the extra part of the valve handle, turning it from an octagonal piece to a square piece. So there's our next objective. Let me just drop some things off here. Even with the side pack, I've noticed that our inventory gets filled so quickly, especially at this end point in the game, because they want to give you everything to succeed. There's just no getting past that. The game wants you to succeed and make sure you have everything that you need. And I'd say it's a little bit of overkill. I've mentioned this before in a previous episode, saying that really they don't need to give you this much, but they do anyway. And it's really interesting how it balances out because there's only one difficulty setting. So I guess they were just throwing stuff at the wall, throwing items at you, just to make sure you're okay, because you can't select a difficulty. And if memory serves me, I would say this is the first Resident Evil game where they just said, it's a story. There's no difficulty included. And I will say, not a bad way to, like, balance out your difficulty, because there have been some hard parts, there have been some really easy parts, but I'd say it's kind of a fluctuating line as far as how hard this game can be. Like, you go from somewhat unfair hard at the very beginning of the game when you have no gun and you have to fight off zombies with a knife. That's kind of BS. But then everything else just kind of falls into line. It's a very good flow of difficulty in this. I have no idea why I went on a tangent about difficulty. Maybe I just like games that know how to ease in the player and make it so that it's not too easy, not too hard. But I do admit that this game is getting a bit too easy because of all the ammo they're just throwing at me. It's like pelting me with shotgun shells. Magnum ammo dropped from 20 stories onto my head. And then, of course, all the healing items, which I haven't had to use, but then again, I've played a Resident Evil game before. I kind of know the mechanics, so I'm not just running around getting slashed in the hallway. What do we have here? We drain the water, and we get the crane key! Jump scare! Yeah, okay, I'm not even going to deal with this. Already gone. I think he died before the music even got a chance to begin. So yeah, that was a hunter completely out of nowhere. Just because, you know, and if he hit you, you have a 50-50 chance of being poisoned. That's nice. Thanks a lot, guys. I was just thinking, maybe I could just climb in, just like he did. But we have a crane key. Awesome. We have another objective. Let's go ahead and do that. What? It just, like, skimmed my boot. And it considers that a threat? Come on. Alright, fine. Whatever. Hey, remember that foreshadowing doom? Yeah, that foreshadowing doom underneath the ice? We haven't had to fight it yet. It's probably nothing.
Who could have done this?
That is how I I dispose of insignificant bugs," said the spider to the fly. "How do you wish to die?"
Because of course it's always spiders. Nature's disgusting freak that takes care of pests, at least. Oh, he's already dead. Yeah, you can't call that a boss fight. That's more of a hindrance. A lot of runs that I've seen actually just avoid this spider altogether. You don't even have to kill it. It's kind of like the albinoid, in which you can fight it, but there's no point. Like, it's just to stop the music. It's literally just, like, the big epic music starts, and then it just stops immediately, and then you can just go on your merry way as you were. I actually didn't know that spider was that hard, because I never fight the spider. I just run past it. I don't want to spend my free time wasting valuable ammunition trying to kill a gigantic pest. And then it just takes, like, 3 grenades, and then is dead. That is kind of an aggravating fight if you didn't bring the proper firepower to kill him with, because he climbs on the ceiling and you gotta shoot him enough times to get him down there. But one explosive round, he's on the floor. It can't be called a boss fight. It's just way too easy. It becomes like a normal enemy spider. And then it's just dead, and then you don't even have to worry about it. We have everything that we need. Let me just go through it back in my head. Got Alfred's ring. Got Nosferatu's earring. Sorry, it wasn't a necklace, it was an earring. So that's 2 out of the 3 gems. And I'm assuming that we need the last one from the other twin. Great. Speaking of Alexia, and this actually has to do with both Ashford twins. I was doing a bit of research, found a bit of trivia that I thought was really funny. But, when they were first being designed, like, they hadn't been given names yet, so in the early development stages of the game, Alfred and Alexia were called Hilbert and Hilda. The only combination I've ever seen where those names have been used is Pokemon Black and White, I think? Where those protagonists are called Hilbert and Hilda? Why would you go with those names? I mean, they're interesting names. Male and female versions of the same name, essentially. But I just thought I'd let you know, that's a little factoid. But I agree, Alfred and Alexia, much better names. Hey, Claire.
Claire.
Chris! I missed you so much.
I know. But we have to get out of here.
Not yet. We have to find Steve.
Who's Steve?
He's a boy who escaped from that island with me. But then a monster attacked us and we got separated.
So that means Steve is still somewhere in this base?
I'm sure of it.
Claire? What's wrong?
I think I've been poisoned.
Just hold on. I'll be right back.
Hello, punishment for sucking at the Nosferatu fight. If you get poisoned while fighting Nosferatu, as soon as you free Claire, you have to save her from poison. I honestly think that's really cool. If you didn't get poisoned during the fight, like if you kill him really fast and don't even have to worry about it, then it just skips that cutscene entirely and you just go on your merry way to the next cutscenes. But now, you have to go find an antidote for Claire. Kinda cool. The game actually remembers. And if you saw my my many, many fights with Nosferatu, I actually had to end my recording with a poisoned Claire just to make this all work, because I did want to show this off, just in case people got to this point and they're like, oh crap, what do I do? Where's the antidote? It's actually in a really easy pathway, and it's not in a very confusing area. You do have to backtrack a little bit, and you have to go to a place that you wouldn't normally, end up going to. I will say, though, that if I'm thinking... Yep, they do. Yeah, because you have to come back to a place that's important, they respawn with zombies. Even though there weren't any when we originally came here, there are now zombies in this room because, well, you need to get something important in here. Gotta save your sister, and then automatically zombies get up and say, no, you're not gonna save your family. What are you, a good brother? Nah. There you go, that's what you're coming here for. Got the serum, it's right there on that shelf, can't miss it, it even glimmers extra bright, just so Chris doesn't miss it. And now you're good to go. Let's take this back to Claire. Let's get her back up on her feet. It's been so long since we've seen her. Wonder if we'll get to play as her again. No, probably not, since we have the reins on Chris. But who knows, maybe this little family reunion is an opportunity to play as Claire again. Because she got taken out! Finally escapes the Arctic base, and then all of a sudden, tentacles out of nowhere, and then you get captured, you get put in a cocoon. It can't be the best day for Claire. I mean, can you imagine, how she feels? Like, God, if I was encased in that thing, I would want to shower. That's disgusting. Big Brother's here to help, Claire. Let's make you better.
Claire, I'll take care of you now. Feeling better?
Thanks to you. Just like a big brother, huh? You're always looking out for your little sister.
It's Alexia!
Alexia? There really is an Alexia?
It is almost time, you genetically inferior siblings.
After her! She might know where Steve is.
Let's go.